person who has exhibited so much hostility to the enforcement of those laws.
The senator is reminded that it is a violation of Rule 19 of the standing rules of the Senate to impute to another senator or senators any conduct or motive unworthy or becoming a senator.
Mr. President, I don't think I quite understand. I'm reading a letter from Coretta Scott King to the Judiciary Committee from 1986 that was admitted into the record. I'm simply reading what she wrote about what the nomination of Jeff Sessions to be a federal court judge meant and what it would mean in history for her.
This is a reminder, not pertinent necessarily what you just shared. However, you stated that a sitting senator is a disgrace to the Department of Justice.
I think that may have been Senator Kent.
And this,
although I would be glad to repeat it in my own words.
the rule applies
Then I'm
to imputing conduct or motive through any form or voice to a sitting form of words includes quotes, articles, or other materials.
So quoting Senator Kennedy calling then nominee Sessions a disgrace is a violation of Senate rules. It was certainly not in 1986.
In the opinion of the chair, it is.
So let me understand then.
And the senator is warned.
So can I ask a question in the opinion of the chair? I want to understand what this rule
The
means.
Senate will state her inquiry.
So is it the contention of the chair that under the rules of the Senate, I am not allowed to accurately describe public views of Senator Sessions, public positions of Senator Sessions, quote, public statements of Senator Sessions?
The chair has not made a ruling as respect to the senator's comments. The senator is following process and tradition by reminding the senator of Massachusetts of the rule.
Oh, I'm asking for what this rule means in this context. So can I continue with Coretta Scott King's letter?
The senator may continue.
Thank you. There's a piece from the Bedford Minuteman that really tells the story of how sexual violence impacts Massachusetts. And this is what it said. They are mothers, daughters, sisters, fathers, sons, and brothers.
Mr. President.
They are.
Mr. President.
The majority leader.
The senator is impugning the motives and conduct of our colleague from Alabama as warned by the chair. Senator Warren, quote, said Senator Sessions has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens. I call the senator to order under the provisions of Rule 19.
Mr. President.
The senator from Massachusetts.
Mr. President, I am surprised that the words of Coretta Scott King are not suitable for debate in the United States Senate. I ask leave of the Senate to continue my remarks.
Is there objection?
Object.
I appeal the ruling.
Objection is heard. The senator will take her seat.
I appeal the ruling of the chair, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
On this motion, the yeas are 43, the nays are 50. The motion is not agreed to.
You were reading a letter on the Senate floor. It is from, and I have it here in my hands, it's from Coretta Scott King, and it was to Senator Strom Thurmond at the time, and it was talking about Jeff Sessions, who then was being considered as a federal judge, correct? And you were just quoting from her letter.
That's right.
And what happened?
So I read the letter because Coretta Scott King, in her letter, had discussed what Jeff Sessions had done while he was the U.S. attorney for Alabama. And she walks through his prosecution of civil rights workers, what it was that Jeff Sessions did to the black vote and to try to chill the black vote, to try to keep African Americans away from the polls. And the letter is powerful. The letter is deeply moving. And the letter is an important historical document. In 1986, it moved a Republican-controlled Senate to say no to confirming him as a federal judge. And yet today, when I went down to the floor of the United States Senate to do what I was supposed to do, which is debate the nomination of Jeff Sessions, and I wanted to read her letter, I was told that I had committed a Rule 19 violation by impugning Mr. Sessions. And I just want to be clear here, by telling the truth, by reading a document that had been written back in 1986 by Coretta King. I was impugning Mr. Sessions, and I was the one ruled out of order, and I am not permitted to speak on the floor of the Senate again until after the vote
for Jeff Sessions. And again, this is they said you were in violation of Rule 19 of the standing rules of the Senate to impugn another senator or senators any conduct or motive unworthy of becoming a senator.
This is a man who has white supremacist ties. I mean, that's what he does. This is a man who told his ex-wife that he didn't want his children going to school with Jews. This is a man who ran a news organization that ran headlines like, would you rather your children have feminism or cancer? This is a man who says, by his very presence, that this is a White House that will embrace bigotry. And, you know, here I am with the business leaders of America, and I just want to underline something that every one of you know. Bigotry is bad for business. Bigotry is not what your employees expect. Bigotry is not what your customers expect. And if that's the direction that this administration goes, that creates a real problem for everybody. And what I believe about this is there's no longer the possibility on this question of someone like Bannon in the administration of where Donald Trump goes next. I don't think it's possible to stand on the sidelines and be quiet about this. There are a lot of people in this room who helped lead the charge to make workplaces open and accepting places, to say we're open to all customers. We want to make sure that we serve all Americans, that we treat everybody with dignity and respect. If this White House goes in a different direction, that damages every one of us. And I think it calls on the business community for leadership. I think it calls on the Democrats for leadership. But I think that's the problem we've got, and one of the ones we're going to have to deal with going forward.
Stephen Bannon, who is a Trump advisor, formerly of Breitbart, great guy. Now, you may not know this, but Judicial Watch and Bannon go a ways back. We worked with him on a film, and Bannon directed a film about Judicial Watch's activities and specifically corruption during the first part of the Obama administration. And it's a great film. It's called District of Corruption. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's available on Amazon. You can find it on our website as well. And so we work with Bannon quite a bit, as you might imagine, in getting this film put together. And Bannon is being smeared by the left and establishment Republicans without basis as being all sorts of terrible things. I found him to be a hard-charging, principled, reformist, didn't have a racist bone in his body. I never heard him speak ill of anyone based on race, sex, religion, anything like that. And so he's being smeared maliciously and viciously and without foundation. And, for what it's worth, he doesn't deserve it. And if you disagree with him on policy, that's one thing. But as typical of the left, they have to destroy you, and they have to suggest you're a bad person as opposed to they just disagree with you. And so I'd like to see more defenders of Bannon out there because this is just, it's really terrible to see this man who we know to be a good man being slimed this way. And if you want to know the way Bannon thinks, you should look at this film too. So it's an interesting perspective as to what you might expect from a Trump administration. But you can see why Bannon and Judicial Watch were good together, because he understood the crisis and the corruption Washington faced. And I hope that Steve, his good sense on this remains with him despite the attacks he's getting.